Rick got that set ahead. That's fun.
All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order. This morning we have Reverend Diane Scribner of Unity of Bonita Springs Church for the invocation. Good morning.
So much. Good morning, Mayor and the City Council. Precious Spirit, we are so grateful to be here today, and to be living in a small town that has such charm and such a big, bright future as Bonita Springs, Florida. We thank you and bless this meeting as it goes forward with expediency and clarity, with focus and grace as we meet today in your name. Thank you, God. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Good morning. Councilmember Bogas?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Purdon?
Here.
Councilmember Carr?
Here.
Mayor Gibson?
Here.
Councilmember Corey?
Here.
Councilmember Fullick?
Here.
And Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Here.
Thank you. All right, public comment on agenda items. Do we have any registered speakers?
It's for one of the public hearings.
Okay, so,
Good morning, Mr. Mayor. Good morning,
Kyle.
City Council. My name is Kyle Moran. I would like to talk about the bond referendum on the agenda. I first moved to Bonita 30 years ago, and 30 is a key number that I'll come back to. Do you know that nearly 2/3 of our residents live behind gates in gated communities? When I first moved here, I moved behind a gated community for the first time in my life. And you wonder, why is that the case? Is that a housing choice, or is it a signal? Is it a signal that maybe our community needs more shared spaces, places where people feel connected, where people feel alive? And the good news for our city is our downtown is starting to feel that way, thanks to the City Council and many great city councils before it and great city staff. It's making people proud to be in Bonita. It's making our citizens proud to call themselves Bonitians, and that's what this rail trail will do as well. We already see it. People are compelled to get out of their communities. You see it on Logan every morning, on East Terry, on West Terry, on Imperial, on a beach road. They're getting out, they're walking, they're biking, they're getting out behind those gates. And that's what this rail trail promises to give us more of. It will heal that sad scar that today cuts across our community. And it'll create a happy gathering place, a great public asset, a place that brings people together. Now, of course, we must be practical. And cost matters. And the rule is simple here. If you overreach, you lose public support. So let's keep it clear. Let's keep it disciplined. Let's keep it winnable. You've made a smart decision already to send this to the voter. Let's be able to say to every voter, to every homeowner, that this will cost less than $50 per year for the average home. That's $4 a month. That's it. Keep it clean. We have the funding set aside for PD&E. Let's do the smart thing. Acquire the corridor, complete that PD&E, and go get the grants. We know how this works. We can get those governments to give us grant money, right? They won't give us to purchase the project, but they'll give us the grants when we're shovel ready, when we're ribbon cutting ready. And that's where the real money is. And the smart money on Wall Street has a saying: bulls and bears get rich, pigs get slaughtered. Let's not be pigs. Let's be smart. Let's think of a 30-30 plan to win this. 30 million, 30 years. There's the 30. That's the less than $50 per home on the average annually. It's prudent. It's responsible. It will win in this community. And then we get the grants. 30-30, then the grants. Let's heal the sad scar. Let's turn it into the happy stitch that binds Bonita together. 30-30 for the win, because it's prudent and it will find approval from our voters. Thank you very much.
Good timing.
Thank you. Thank you
Morning,
for
Deb.
everything you've been working on. My name is Deb Orton, and I'm a resident of Bonita Springs, and I am president of Friends of Burt. So we're here at a pivotal moment for Bonita Springs and for Southwest Florida. I want to thank you all for voting to approve the purchase and sale agreement, getting this city and Southwest Florida much closer to its goal of this transformational rail to trail project. Today you will discuss and make a decision on the amount of the bond and its term to be put before voters on August 18th. I have to always take a breath when I think August 18th because it's coming fast. Assuming the ballot measure is approved by voters, Friends of Burt will continue to work hard to secure additional funding from the state SunTrails program, grants, and philanthropic efforts. FDOT's SunTrails awards $50 million per year for the construction of trails like Burt. Once the right-of-way is acquired, we become eligible for those funds. I realize the council will be looking to me and our Friends of Burt organization to get out the vote, to pass this ballot measure. You have my personal commitment to an all-out effort. It's already started, but it will continue. Please realize this is a sprint. I told some people yesterday that I was never a sprinter. I was a long-distance runner, but I'm ready for the sprint. I'm ready for the sprint. Reaching out to voters who may be leaving to go north, we need to do that quickly, and we need to push hard right through August 18th. I ask council to give us a fighting chance to win August 18th. After careful consideration on my part and our Friends of Burt board, it is our recommendation the referendum be for $30 million for a 30-year term. And I thank you so much for all your efforts, and we will push this right through. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment this morning?
Thank you. No problem.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Carrie Blommers, and I'm a Bonita resident and community board member of the YMCA. And also with me today is Susie Stark from the YMCA Association. And we just want to thank the City of Bonita for the trust and partnership in the rec center for the after-school programs and services we've been able to provide at that location. We look forward to continuing that partnership to serve the families that come through there for after-school care, summer camps, and continue that strong partnership. And if there are questions, concerns, please reach out. We're dedicated to that location and our continual growth and expansion of services here in Bonita Springs. Thank you.
Thank you.
For the record, my name is Don Huprich. I am the general manager at Hunters Ridge Country Club, and I am...
On Hunter's Ridge, we'll have a separate public
Oh,
comment
okay, I'm sorry.
for that. Thank you. Any other public comment this morning? All right, seeing none, we will go into the public hearings.
Okay. First item is
Bless you.
first reading and public hearing on a zoning ordinance of the City of Bonita Springs, Florida, and amending an amendment to the residential plan development to allow a 149-foot monopole wireless facility and related infrastructure located at 12760 Fox Ridge Drive, Bonita Springs, Florida, 34135, providing for an effective date. Because this item is quasi-judicial at this time, I'd like to swear in anyone who wishes to speak on this item.
Okay.
If you're here to speak on this item, even if you're just a resident nearby in Hunters Ridge who want to see what would happen but may decide to speak, go ahead and stand and be sworn now. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you.
Morning, Mike.
Good morning, everyone. It's been a while. Mike Fegon with Community Development. Good to be with you all this morning. Yep, as you heard from Derek, this is a request to amend an existing zoning ordinance for a portion of Hunters Ridge. There's a few different zoning ordinances and resolutions to control Hunters Ridge, but where this particular tower is being proposed, the approvals go all the way back to 1985. And as you know, when we look at these plan developments, they come with a set schedule of uses that you're allowed to use the property for and develop to. And at that time, it wasn't contemplated that cell towers would be on there. Since then, obviously, the world has done lots of moving and shaking over the last 40 years, and cell service is definitely the most prominent form of communication. So they are proposing to amend that schedule of uses to be able to add a cell tower on the property. It is going to be located at the maintenance facility, which is about dead center of Hunter's Ridge, but off to the east, more towards Bonita Grand. The site has already been developed. It's been used as the maintenance facility for the golf course operations. There's also treatment plant tanks there as well. So they're not proposing any additional impervious or upsetting any particular sensitive environmental areas or anything like that. This case was heard by your Planning and Zoning Board last month. They did vote unanimously to approve it. They did ask that staff and the applicant work on an additional condition with regards to maintenance, and that condition is in your draft ordinance as condition number 4. So with that, I can turn it over to Matanaya John, representing Diamond Communications LLC, the tower company, and we can do presentations if you wish.
Okay. Everybody?
It's still your first reading, so it's up to
Yes,
you.
first reading.
So,
Yeah, we'll get them.
We can do them now, we can do them at the night meeting. It's up to you.
We'll get them over with now.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Matanaya John, 935 Main Street, Suite C4, Safety Harbor, Florida 34695. As you heard, I come before you today with your Planning Commission's recommendation of approval to add a communication tower, 149-foot tall monopine style communication tower to the Hunters Ridge plan development. In all maps I show you, up will be north today, unless I indicate otherwise. So the monopine is proposed in the southeast corner of a maintenance parcel on the property, and as you heard, that is the golf course maintenance facility as well as water treatment tanks. I've shown a map of your RPD zoning and applied an arrow for the location where the monopine would be located. This is your future land use density showing moderate or mixed use plan development. Now I'm showing an aerial of the parent parcel. And as you can see, it is pretty much the most intensely used area or parcel in the area. It's a non-residential used parcel. To the south of us, we have wooded lands that will continue to stay wooded. So to the north, of course, is the maintenance compound, then the Hunters Ridge Golf Course, then duplexes along Fox Ridge Drive. To the south are wooded lands and a water retention pond. To the east is the Hunters Ridge Perimeter Buffer, then Bonita Grand, then the Quail West Perimeter Buffer, then LaCali, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Drive, and then houses in the Quail West subdivision. To the west is the maintenance compound and water tanks, a water retention pond, and then the Hunters Ridge Golf Course and houses along Hunters Ridge Drive. As we get closer, you can see, and as you heard, this is proposed on disturbed land, so there's no wetlands or wooded lands that will be impacted from this. And this is the location. So a monopine style communication tower, and I'm showing one on the left that has foliage that is more similar to what the photosims show. The one on the right is just here to show canopy as far as start heights and such. But it's a type of communication tower where there's a single support pole. This is all known technology. We've used it for supporting lights along the interstates for decades. And then there's a foliated canopy of branches. Those will extend from the tree line, which in this case is 55 feet, up to the top of the monopine. Within that, there are head frames that are painted green, and on them will be the antennas and radios. The antennas and radios will be covered in vegetated socks to match the foliage of the rest of the tower. This is sheet C8. This is just a site plan sheet. I will be showing photo simulations later, but this shows that the monopine is designed for co-location. T-Mobile will be the anchor tenant. They'll be located at the top of the monopine, and I apologize, my arrows are out of order there. Below that, and they're indicated with the purple arrow, below that is Verizon Wireless. This monopine is unusual in that it is going to be constructed with two anchor tenants, T-Mobile and Verizon. Normally, especially as you go further north or other parts of the state, you end up with just one anchor carrier. And then once the monopine or other tower structure is constructed, other carriers tend to hop on. In this case, the need is so great for two carriers that they're willing to both be anchor tenants and wait for this to be constructed.
May I ask a question? Just when there's a hurricane, are the branches secured, or do they?
Yeah, Matt and I, John, and yes, they are designed for the wind loading in the area.
Okay, thanks.
So this is just the site plan line work overlaid on an aerial, and there's a lot going on here. It's showing the different separations. As well as your nearest houses, 233 feet to the east. You have 572 feet to the west. You can see a 150-foot height. That's just one times tower height that's shown as a marker to just help understand separation. Within there, harder to see, is a 20-foot fall zone radius. And what that is a pre-engineered crimp point in the structure. So in the unlikely event of a structural failure, it folds over upon itself. The example that I use, since I grew up in Sarasota, is the Kings Highway exit in Charlotte County. When Hurricane Charlie came up the Peace River Valley and hit Arcadia, it came over the Kings Highway exit, and all those lampposts were folded over at the same height, so they wouldn't obstruct the travel lanes. This is sheet C2, and this just shows that as the monopine is designed, so is the compound. It's designed to share up to 4 users. Of course, you have T-Mobile with the purple arrow and Verizon with the red arrow. You have 2 green arrows. Those are future co-locations that will be made available. This is important because your code actually requires people who are applying for new towers to look for existing towers to co-locate upon. I'll be addressing that as I get further into my RF package. But let's say AT&T comes along, there's space available here, so just the mechanics of trying to serve your clients as fast as possible will guide them to this, but also should they try to add another tower, they would have to explain why they couldn't use the monopine. All right. Going through photo simulations, we have Bonita Grand Drive looking south, and as you can see, there's just so much vegetation in the area, it is hard to get a view there. This is La Calle. You can see the pole for the monopine hanging out here, but then as you hit the vegetation, the view sheds are so broken up in the area that especially the houses that are closest, are going to have a hard time seeing it. Hunters Ridge Drive looking northeast, this is to the south. The monopine is hanging out right there at canopy height. It's just the effects of having the wooded parcel to the south. Hunters Ridge Drive looking east, and you can see at this distance, you're scaled down into other objects in the view shed, and I'm not talking about the tree in the foreground. Of course, that could block it completely, but just trees in the background and such. Though it is worth noting that, if you are in a backyard or whatnot, you're going to have trees that are more like the one in the foreground. This is Fox Ridge Drive looking southeast, so from the north, looking southeast. Pondview Circle looking west, northwest, and you can see that there's no visibility here. Silverthorne Drive looking northeast, no visibility. And Hunter's Court looking northeast, and you can see, again, you're shrinking down into objects that you see in the view shed, like those trees in the midground. Moving into T-Mobile's RF need, and this is the RF package that is on file. I won't be forcing reading of this right now. I'm just going into the actual maps. Basically, when cell towers started, right, they functioned almost like a replacement to payphones. So, for example, my father worked at Oldies 106 up in Sarasota, and he would call in with using the payphones to my mother. Once he got a cell phone, he was able to continue to work and not have to stop as much, things like that. As we went along, we started adding more devices to the cellular network. So when I started driving, my parents gave me a phone so they could get in touch with me. Nowadays, the laptop in my purse is considered a cellular device, and we use it for everything from Zoom calls or FaceTime calls to contacting the property appraiser's office. So we also use it increasingly away from roads and inside structures. The cellular network is essentially replacing the old copper line network to the point where there are copper line networks that are no longer being maintained. And what that means is that first you have to have signal that is reliable everywhere, outdoors and indoors and in vehicle. And the second thing is you have to have coverage in more places. Specifically, we're doing what I call urban infill. An engineer would call it densification. But we're putting towers between towers to cover the areas that were not covered before. And that's the case here in Hunter's Ridge. You can see on the left-hand side T-Mobile's existing coverage. So when you see the green, that's reliable everywhere. Indoors, outdoors, in vehicle. When you go down to yellow, that's service that is reliable in vehicle. Orange is reliable outdoors. Blue is trace coverage. On the left-hand side is T-Mobile's current coverage. You can see, and let me get into more details on these maps. As you can see, just to help give some bearings, we have I-75 to the west. The dotted line is the Collier County line, and then a little bit harder to see in this map is Bonita Beach Road. The existing towers are shown as these dots on the map, and you can see the coverage that they're providing. T-Mobile is on pretty much all the towers in the area, and you can see the nearest towers to the north of Bonita Beach Road are unable to reach down, and that's just a matter of physics. Communication towers were basically, it's FM radio talking to fancy walkie-talkies with a computer strapped to them. And in order to, whereas like say with my father, he worked for Oldies 106, and that station could send out music from St. Petersburg to Venice, right, and cover the entire Sarasota, Bradenton metro area into South Tampa area, right, St. Pete area. Communication towers are inherently local because they have to talk with these two-way walkie-talkies, and they can't afford to lose any data. They can't make static, essentially, because then you start losing information for your connection. And I will have an RF engineer with me on the second reading, should you want to ask more questions about that. I'm just trying to boil it down to layman's terms. So, all right, going into Verizon Wireless, you can see Verizon's map, and again, you have, if you can see my mouse, you have your Collier County line, you have I-75, and then if these dots on the map are looking familiar, they're the same towers. Basically, there's not a lot of towers to choose from, and they're co-located on all of them. The coverage for both, and this is the proposed coverage for Hunter's Ridge on Verizon's network. Basically, they're trying to achieve reliable indoor service for Hunter's Ridge, Quail West, Palmyra, and Worthington. This is a map showing the nearest towers that Verizon's on, and of course, T-Mobile is also on them. So your nearest tower is located 1.2 miles to the west on the other side of I-75, and that corresponds back to the maps. I can show you that the coverage doesn't reach from there. Again, that's physics. And then your other towers are further out, 2.5 miles to the north, 2.2 miles to the northeast, and then as you go down to Collier County, you're over 3 miles, with the exception of an FPL substation site. This is Verizon's search ring, and you can see that it basically sits within the Hunter's Ridge Quail West area, and that's because this is the equivalent, the cell tower equivalent of one of the roads feeding the area, such as Bonita Grand Drive. You know, as you go along, you have to add more road network to service local houses and such. It's the same thing. And again, we're always fighting that concurrency battle. Moving into housekeeping, we do have an FAA determination of no hazard to air navigation. This will be completely dark at night. We have agreed to a maintenance condition of approval, which has been included in your staff report. We held 2 community meetings on August the 14th, 2025, and February the 5th, 2026. Both of those meetings enjoyed overwhelming support. People came out and attended them and asked their questions. Of course, you have received some objections out of the 560 homes in Bonita, in Hunter's Ridge. So the vast majority, I would submit, are either not commenting or supportive. Finally, I would like to bring your attention to 911 call statistics, just to kind of give some insight on how much this is woven into our daily lives. So in 2021, Collier County, over 83% of all 911 calls in Collier County were received from wireless numbers. Up in Orange County, it's higher, 89%. So I would respectfully submit that this shows that reliable wireless service isn't a luxury, it's a necessity, it's infrastructure that we use to support our daily lives and for our life safety. With that, I'm available for any questions that you may have. Like I said, second reading, I'll be back with an RF engineer as well. Thank you for your time, and I reserve.
Laura?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
My first name is Matanaya.
Okay. Obviously a need, and they blend in so perfectly. Do eagles nest in them, or birds, or is that dangerous for birds?
This is Matanaya. No, these do often end up getting moved into from birds of prey. It's an excellent perch. It's a stable, safe area for their nests. So, for example, there's a monopole behind my office up in Safety Harbor, and it has osprey nests in it. The only real impact of that, because the birds don't have an issue, they've got a great place to set up their nests, is that during nesting season, they actually can't climb the tower out of sensitivity for the mating and birthing cycle for the birds of prey. So it is safe, and they take special measures to ensure that it's a safe place for the birds.
Cool, cool. And then on one of your maps, you showed like down from the fire station on Rio Grande Drive, the San Souci area was all orange. So no, would then some server come in and get another branch on your tree?
Yes.
Okay.
So.
Great, thank you. Great presentation.
Thank you.
Nigel?
Yes, thank you. 2 questions for you. One is the photograph at the Home Depot site. Any idea how old that photo is? And the reason I'm asking the question is, it's Florida, so the elements are brutal on anything. So how long do these things hold their appeal? And is some sort of system of maintenance where you have to replace the branches?
Yes, sir. So both of those pictures are of the towers when they are new. They do go on to a schedule where they get refoliated. So the foliage is UV resistant and everything, but like you said, they are outside, so
But there
they get
is
maintained.
a schedule.
Yes, sir.
Second question is, in the event of technology taking leaps and bounds and the poles no longer being necessary, there's obviously an expense attached to removing them. Is that part of the agreement that the city has? And is there an escrow fund? Because I'm sure it's not inexpensive to take one down.
So Matt and I, John, again, and to take one down, there's two mechanisms for that. First, your code has an abandonment clause where you can use your actual code enforcement process to force the removal of an empty tower, if that were to happen. Secondly, a more prescient for Diamond and for Hunter's Ridge is that there's actual provisions in the lease that require them to remove that tower and restore the ground.
Thank you.
Jim?
I am a resident of Hunters Ridge, and this issue goes back for a couple of years now. It was first pitched by the board probably about 2 years ago, if I recall correctly. With the reality of this coming to light, it is a contentious issue right now, to be perfectly honest. But when I look at this, this is a proposed use that wasn't contemplated in 1985 or 7 or any of the other amendments that have been made to the residential plan development. And these uses are typically provided to many of the mixed use and residential communities that we've approved since that time. So this really is an issue of allowing the service, but the issue in terms of that relationship between Diamond Communications is really with the board and the residents that way. So from my end, I take a pure look at this, that this is a use that has been allowed at other residential planned communities. And other great side benefits that come out of this beyond allowing the use is the need for improved services. Having lived out there since 2014, the cell service is terrible. We have had 2 presentations by Diamond Communications where representatives of both Worthington and Quail West participated in those meetings, as well as residents from Hunters Ridge. What the heck else? And the fact about the public safety and 911 is a key issue. So I just wanted to make sure to bring up when I look at this, where my perspective comes from. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah.
Chris?
The technology committee that has been dealing with this issue for a number of years in terms of how to improve cell service in Bonita Springs, how to make sure that people, if there's an emergency, can access service, whether it be a health condition or a fire or whatever. But right now, we have a lot of gaps in the cell coverage. So I think this illustrates something that we need to do. We need to make a record that just because a plan unit development was authored 30 years ago in Hunters Ridge and 40 years ago in Bonita Bay and so forth, that we set a precedent to allow the amendment of those plan unit developments to improve the amount of cell phone coverage, cell service coverage based on the way we live today. So I'm going to be for this.
Jim, you had another
Yeah,
comment?
I did want to make one clarification. This is more charged to both Diamond Communications and to Hunters Ridge, is the comments that are contained within the ordinance specifically call out the maintenance of the foliage and the regular scheduling of such replacement of the foliage. And if that's not in the agreement, I would encourage that amendment's made ASAP, so that's incorporated and stated in fact as what that's going to be.
Understood.
Thank you.
Any other comments? All right, thank you, Matt and Naya. We'll see you at second reading.
Thank you for your time today.
Oh, there's one public speaker.
Oh, we want.
Oh. Yeah, I'm sorry.
For the record, Don Huppert at Hunters Ridge. I'm the general manager at Hunters Ridge. And I appreciate the comments. I've been associated with Hunters Ridge since 1990. I wasn't part of the original development team, but I've been there for going on 36 years. It's a beautiful community, and we are really very, very proud of the community and proud of Bonita Springs. But I was on the site in 2017 with Hurricane Irma, and then in 2022 with Ian. And you're absolutely right. The cell tower, or the coverage is not good, and when we have emergencies and you're going through hurricane season with storms, we have basically no reception. So it is definitely a need. It's a need for public safety, not only for the residents of Hunters Ridge, but for the adjoining communities. As Matt and I said, we held 2 public meetings for all the residents of Worthington, Quail West, Hunters Ridge. And I can tell you the overwhelming majority of the folks are supportive of this, because the cell tower service, the service that we have over there is just not good. And it is a matter of public safety, especially when you get into hurricane season, you don't have power, and you have some older residents who really need, whether again, medical concerns or issues or even fire. So I'm really here to ask for your approval for the recommended use for the cell tower. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Any other public comment on this item only? All right, seeing none, we'll see you at second reading. Thank you. All right, consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Okay,
Second.
and a second.
I do have.
Did you want to pull something, or?
No, just
Okay.
a comment. I can do it
Okay,
after.
at the end, yeah. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Councilmember Follick,
Aye.
Councilmember Corey,
Aye.
Mayor Gibson,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Purdon, Councilmember Bogas, Councilmember Carr.
Aye.
Thank you. You had a comment, Jim?
I just want to say, my son went to YMCA's after-school program for about 5 years until he aged out. It's a great program, so I'm excited for us to continue our partnership with the Y. I think they're doing a lot of good work over there, and I'm hopeful that we continue not only that partnership, but continue expanding and thinking about the pickleball courts and furthering that partnership over there too. So, thanks.
All right.
All right, next item is a public hearing. It's a transmittal hearing on a first reading of an ordinance of the City of Bonita Springs, Florida, amending the City of Bonita Springs Comprehensive Plan as adopted by Ordinance 0216 as amended, so as to amend the future land use, transportation element, housing element, intergovernmental coordination element, public participation monitoring, updating and evaluation procedures to revise and update the existing goals, objectives, and policies, and data and analysis in accordance with Chapter 163 Florida statutes, providing for a conflicts clause and severability clause, and providing for an effective date and other purposes. All you, Dr. Banyan.
Good morning, Dr. Banyan.
Morning. Good morning. Pulling up my presentation. So before you this morning, we have the comprehensive plan amendments. I have a brief presentation to just remind everyone kind of where we're at and why we're here. In just a brief history of where we've been, the state requires every city and county in the to prepare a evaluation and appraisal review of your comprehensive plan. You're on a cycle for that review, so we completed that review in 2023. The analysis is based on legislation from 2017 to 2022. completed in 2023. And following that, the city has 1 year to complete your amendments. And those amendments were completed in 2024. They were sent up to the state Florida Commerce for comment as part of the process. I don't know if I have a clicker on me. So Florida Commerce's comment came back and said that they would like the city to address legislation that took effect July 1, 2023, which was after the completion of the year. At that time, council directed us to go back and prepare these amendments in the next couple years because we knew that that was going to require some additional data and analysis. And the specific requirement that the state wanted the city to look at was to update the maps and text needed to reflect a 20-year planning horizon. So previously, the legislation said a 5 and 10-year horizon, changed to now a 10 and 20-year horizon. So that requirement meant that we needed to go back and ensure a couple things for the city to be sure we would have that sufficient capacity for until 2050. At the same time, something else happened at the state, Senate Bill 180. And Senate Bill 180 required that after a hurricane, local governments cannot pass any more restrictive or burdensome laws about building, zoning, or land use that had implications for the comprehensive plan and any code amendments that you would carry forward. So we had a bit of a task ahead of us. So the scope of our analysis and amendments were to ensure compliance with Senate Bill 180. That was a basic requirement. We also needed to prepare the data and analysis to support the increase in the planning period. More specifically, the city's required to accommodate future population estimates. So the analysis really looked at what is the population growth rate? What is it going to look like in 2050? What existing and housing units you have in development, so existing units and those units in development, and then what is your housing unit availability based on a vacant lands analysis. Following that analysis, it was determined that you have plenty of capacity until 2050 to accommodate a 2050 population. And so we prepared the plan amendments to reflect that new planning horizon. We knew all along that the work here was going to be in the data and analysis, not so much in the amendments. So you have two maps that have been updated. This 2050 map, what you'll notice is that it incorporates the new annexed boundaries for the city. I will note that no intensities and densities were required to be increased in any future land use category because you had sufficient capacity in the future. One thing I will note on this map and on the second map is the city limit boundary on this map currently says proposed. When we submit that to the state, transmit that to the state, we'll remove the proposed boundary because that's been established. We also updated your long-range transportation map for the 2050 horizon. Again, with this map, we'll remove the proposed on the city limit on this. And then just a brief update about what you'll see in your packet, which was amended, updated the future land use map, updated transportation element policies 1.1.2, 1.5.9, and that just reflects the Metropolitan Planning Organization's updated their 2045 to 2050 plans. And we also updated the long-range transportation plan map. Housing element policy 1.1.3, you'll just notice some language that recognizes the 20-year planning horizon. In our governmental coordination, 1.6.2, again, recognizes the longer planning horizon. And then in your public participation element, there's another reference to the planning horizon, and that was updated to 20 years. So what we are just going to give you sort of an idea about what's next. We did go to the Land Use and Zoning Board. They recommended unanimous approval and transmittal. We had a public meeting last night where 3 members of the public showed up and listened to the presentation, had very few questions, but also supported the amendments. And after your vote today, we would then transmit this to the state. It'll go through a 1-month state expedited review, so Florida Commerce will look at it again, and upon their comments back, roughly in about a month, we would bring this back to you for final adoption sometime mid-June. You still have some time to adopt it if that timeline needs to be extended.
Was it Dwight, Ben, and Kyle? I'm just curious. Was it Dwight, Ben, and Kyle?
Dwight? Yes. And
Ben and
Ben?
Kyle.
No, it
No,
was.
it wasn't. I was close. I just wanted to see if there was 3 in the whole city. I just want to see if I got at least one of them. I bet I did.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you know, what you recognize, there's not many amendments here. This is state required. There's really nothing changing with intensity and density, so there's not much story here, so I'm not surprised there wasn't.
And the folks that attended were very complimentary of community development staff and
Yes.
Dr. Banyan's work. They felt it was very thorough and appreciated the opportunity to review it.
They're paid to do so.
I echo that. And yesterday, the presentation was fabulous. So, thank you.
Thank you. So, any other questions of recommendation to transmit to the state?
Questions, comments?
So just,
Motion to
yeah, this one.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Corey?
Aye.
Councilmember Fullick?
Aye.
Councilmember Carr?
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Purdon? Mayor Gibson?
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
And Councilmember Bozak.
Aye.
Passed.
Thank you. The next item is a first reading, an ordinance ordering and calling for a bond referendum election to be held on August 18th, 2026 in the city of Bonita Springs, Florida, to determine if the qualified electors residing in the city approve the issuance by the city of general obligation bonds payable from ad valorem taxes levied in amounts sufficient to pay the debt service on such bonds and all taxable property within the city to finance the acquisition of an inactive railroad corridor property and development and construction of capital improvements thereto for the Bonita Estero Rail Trail, providing for severability and providing for an effective date. All right, so this is the big one. So what we're looking for on this first reading is, you don't have to take any action, but we do need some guidance to fill in the gaps on the second reading. At that point, you will be approving the total allowed debt obligation and the term. We'll also be finalizing the language for the bond referendum. Now, we did get some input from TPL. We're going to maybe tweak some of that language on our proposed questions that's in the ordinance you have before you, but ultimately that'll also depend on what the amount that you request. If it is just the amount for acquisition, then we can take out some language relating to construction. If it's acquisition plus construction dollars, then I'd like to add some of that language back in. So there is the amounts you select will drive the question to a degree.
I'd like to see staff move forward with 3030.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
Let's discuss it.
Yeah,
Is there a second for discussion?
I know 30 for 30 sounded pretty snappy, but I mean, for me, 35 being only $8 more a year, I think is very sellable and can still get us to hopefully construct a very large portion, if not possibly the whole thing, along with possibly grants in the future. But with the current administration, I know, grants and things like that are gonna be harder to get in the future, so I think this is just a better way to protect ourselves, to have money to get more of it done. Because I know if people vote for this and they start paying for it in their taxes, they're gonna want something tangible that they can start using, so. I mean, my head was higher before, but I know, in talking with some people, you know, lower seems better, but I think 30 is just kind of cutting it too close, and I think 35 would be the better number myself, but I'm open for more discussion. Jim, you clicked in first.
Yes, I think the call by one of our residents regarding being clear to the voters, I think it's important to go back and look at what was polled, which was kind of a $3 a month type proposal, or $30 a year. The reality of the bond issuance that was presented last week reflects for $30 million on a debt cost of about $450,000, which would net us $29.55 million. The purchase price alone, without any closing costs, any engineering or planning, is $28,565,000, leaving us about $985,000 to do anything. That would go to closing costs. The cost of the railroad and the expectations of our voters centers around delivering something sooner than later. There is not one person that hasn't said, oh, this will be great to be able to use in 2 or 3 years. That is not the reality as to whether we get 30 million or whether we get $45 million. The reality is the process is likely with a 2-year gap to allow the railroad to remove railroad ties and so forth. We won't get actually starting with real construction. We can do planning and that type of thing. Real construction till at least 2 years from when the purchase is completed. So the reality is you're looking somewhere 5, 7, maybe 8 years down the road with an appropriate level of funding to pay for it. Our closing costs include environmental remediation, rail bed capping, engineering firm to design our railroad, our trail, securing the right-of-way during construction, big issue in terms of keeping people off of it at the time during construction. And more importantly, for those that don't live within a mile or 2 of the trail, is incorporation of securing land to provide park and bike places that people can come from, be it Bonita Bay, Hunter's Ridge, Bonita National, that can come, park, use the bike, and get on the trail. And that has not been contemplated in the original design that was presented back a year ago. We need sufficient funds to purchase, close, plan, and hopefully construct enough of the railroad that can take somebody from downtown Bonita north to Arts Bonita. And my thoughts after yesterday's discussion with the pollsters and TPL and so forth, I understand their numbers. And it's an acceptable number, but it's not acceptable if we buy a railroad and we don't build it. And we have to do at least a portion of it. So look at $30 million. That average monthly cost is $4.09 a month. $35 million is $4.75 a month for 30 years. We have to give up 1 Starbucks.
Or half of a streaming service.
Right, and you, the health benefits here are far better than at the gym. That is $10 a month. And then lastly, the $45 million is $6.08 a month. I support the approach of the building of this trail, the purchase of it, but I have a problem with just the purchase and closing. We have to build something, and I really want to see something from downtown to Arts Bonita at least completed during that first 5 to 7 years.
Just for clarity, what is you're saying you're in favor, but you want more. So is your suggestion to go along the lines of what the mayor said? Or
I would prefer a minimum of $35 million. We've got $5 million in the CIP. That provides essentially kind of a $39 million number that we can plan, take care of the environmental stuff, and get a portion of it built as much as possible while hopefully our partners will identify the source of grants and so forth. My concern is what happens if property taxes get back?
No, I get you. I 100% everything you said. I hear all of that. I just want to make sure at the end of it, when you were done, what
When I'm
you were
done,
saying is along
right,
the lines of-
it's got to be 35 million. I prefer 40, but you know, like I said, the reality is
Nigel?
Yeah, I think going back, just to clarify, we already have 5 million set aside, correct, Arlene?
You currently have just under 5 million in there because there were approved expenses out of there, but approximately 5 million in the CIP.
So the bottom line is, if we approved 35, we essentially have close to $40 million. And that I am very comfortable with. And I am waiting for one person to actually approach me and say, I'm against this, it's a bad idea. The idea that it's just a bike path, I keep going back and thinking of the kids that will be taken off our roads, that will use that to get to school, of the 7 different schools up and down that corridor, that this is going to be an advantage to. What it's going to do to our business community is nothing but a plus. I'm still waiting for somebody to come to that podium and say, this is a bad idea and you're spending money that we shouldn't. So again, when you talk to people, most of them think it's going to cost a lot more out of their pocket. When you say to them $5 a month, it's that, or I thought you'd done this already. So totally for 35 million.
Chris?
I want to make sure everybody understands what we're voting on today. We're voting on the sample ballot measure in Exhibit A of our green sheet. You will notice that does not say anything about the amount of bonds we are going to issue. It does not say anything about the millage rate. It does not say anything about the average impact on the taxes of an average household. In fact, we don't want to say those things because we don't know what interest rates are going to be when we issue the bonds. We don't have the latest taxable values for real estate from the appraiser's office in 2026. Now, are we going to have to say some things when we market this? Yeah. But all we're doing here today is seeking an amount that we want authorization for. Are we going to borrow the whole amount in one bond issue? No. We're going to, first of all, fund the purchase price of the acquisition of the right-of-way, okay? We will also fund the start of a PD&E effort. Construction is going to start, say, the fall of '28 at earliest, okay? We do not want to borrow money for construction until we need money for construction. So we will first of all issue a tranche of debt to fund the purchase and the PD&E. We will then issue a tranche of debt to fund the construction of whatever segment of the railroad right-of-way we feel should be built. And we can talk about Bonita Beach Road to Terry, we can talk about Bonita Beach Road to Burnwood, Bonita Beach Road to Strike Lane, or Bonita Beach Road all the way forward to this Estero line. We haven't made those decisions yet. And we haven't certainly got any construction bids or estimates. All we're seeking at this point is an authorization for a maximum amount that we could borrow with respect to this sample ballot amendment. So I just want to make sure that we're clear on that. So in my view, what you have to balance is, you have to balance the amount you need to actually buy the railroad right-of-way, do the PD&E. It would be politically a good thing if you could say, well, 30-30, yeah, that's low risk, but that doesn't talk about how we're going to complete the railroad right-of-way in terms of construction going forward. What we need to convince the voters of, I think, is the fact that we're going to do it responsibly. We're going to get as many grants as we can. We're going to borrow the absolute minimum we need to do the construction, and we're going to be fiscally responsible with their monies. That's the message we need to to get out there. If we get hung up on talking about mill rates and interests and, you know, whether it's gonna be 5% or 4.5%, we have no clue. Anybody that can tell me what interest rates are gonna be around Christmas, let me know. I'm sure Nigel would be very appreciative of that. So let's just be clear what we're asking to approve today. We're approving the wording of a sample ballot, and we're approving a maximum amount we are authorized to borrow, and that's it. So I'm not going to get into where's everybody comfortable, but I just want to make sure that we're clear on what we're doing.
Thank you, Chris. Jamie?
So with that being said, Chris, so we're all discussing what we want on the sample ballot money-wise, so you're stating that that's,
All it is all we're voting on is a maximum amount to put on the ballot. We're not putting on the ballot any terms. We're not saying only if interest rates are such and such, only if the impact on the mill rate is such and such, only if the impact on the average household real estate tax bill is such and such, only if the term of the bonds is, well, I guess we are saying something about the term of the bonds, I'm sorry.
right?
But, you know, those are things that we'll work on later, because we haven't done any engineering. We haven't to figure out how much it's gonna cost. So why are we worried about the sizing of the bonds now for the whole project? We issue tranches as needed to purchase. We issue another tranche as we do, say, phase 1 construction, then phase 2. We might combine them, but those are things we decide down the road.
And I totally agree with that, but we do have to put a number on the referendum
Right.
and a term on it. So,
The number we put on the referendum is, think of it as the authority to issue a maximum amount.
right. And I think the 35 is a good spot, because I also want to, I mean, there's a lot of people that say, I hope they do the research and they look at it and say that's $4.75. If rates are, as you said, we have no idea what they're gonna be when it's time. But let's be honest, a lot of people don't do that. They're just gonna look at this number on the referendum and say, wow, that's a lot, and too much, and I'm not doing it, or no, let's do it. So I don't want to scare people away from it either. So I think a safe spot is the 35 with the 30.
I can understand that. It's a judgment call.
It is.
That's all it is.
Good?
Mhm.
Jesse?
I think overall the feedback that we've gotten and the information we got in our meetings was overall good. I think we can all agree on that. They did test, a lower number than maybe we're comfortable with, and part of that fear is, we don't want to sticker shock people, and we want to make sure that it actually does pass. I was good with the 30 for 30, but upon hearing everybody speak, I'm fine with 35 as well. But I think Chris is right in a lot of what he said, in the sense that less is more on a ballot initiative. I mean, he didn't say it that way, but I mean, if I were to put it in a nutshell, less is more on a ballot initiative. You get to the end of the ballot, they've already voted for 5 people who they don't know, and now they're looking at a ballot initiative that it needs to be short, it needs to be sweet, it needs to be as non-convoluted as possible, as few numbers, and anything that might construe it as confusing, because people are already innately against ballot initiatives. They think that it's going to be government BS and spending, and they're inclined to say no to begin with. If you make it really long and it's at the end, they're either going to not vote for it or they're going to vote no. So I think a lot of...
I think it's pretty short and sweet.
No, I'm good with it how it is, yeah.
Exhibit A, so.
I'm good with it how it is, but I think Chris was right in the sense that we don't need it is good to not have a bunch of numbers and a lot of explanation.
Well, I think there's actually, and Derek can correct me if I'm wrong, there's actually a word limitation.
There's
of
75
words in the Florida statute. You got 75 words. There's 2 things, keep it short and keep it accurate. And that's why you can't put in things like interest rates impact on millage and average, the impact on the average house, because you couldn't put anything in there that's accurate, okay? So you can talk about it in the marketing of the bill, but for purposes of this authorization, you need to keep it simple and accurate.
And as far as a fear of 35, I fear if we went to 45, I fear it wouldn't pass. Now 35, I think with the undecideds and with the appropriate targeting and with appropriate spending on a get out the vote initiative, this should pass. So I think I'm comfortable with doing 35. So I would like to make a motion that we do that.
How many years?
30.
30?
35 for 30.
Okay, Derek?
No, that's what I was gonna say. It seemed like the consensus was for 35, so if you wanna make a motion to that effect, that it'll
Well,
incorporate.
we have a motion and a second, but Laura hasn't had a chance to talk yet. So.
This is just strictly to you.
Setting it up for the-
With regard to the write-up, will it also, the referendum mention that if environmental studies or structural issues come up, we can withdraw from the contract?
No, that's,
Okay.
I mean, we can withdraw from the contract anyway, but we're more likely than not, we're working with TPL in the selection of all the due diligence. I expect that we're gonna be very close, if not after the August primary, before we have a complete picture of all the due diligence anyway. And so,
Right.
you know, unless it comes in smaller chunks ahead of time, and there's something that's alarming in that, I expect what we're gonna do is we're gonna prepare a due diligence memorandum for the council at that point. And so even if the referendum goes through, you'll have that to guide you, but there may be something structural that prevents everyone from moving forward. So we'll deal with that as a separate item.
Okay. And I just want to again echo what fellow council have said. Simple, clear, concise writing on the bill. No double negatives that we have to like count how many no's have been said. Was it 6? Was it 7? Okay, real clear, real concise, because that's the way people will approach it. And if you guys want to go 35 for 30, that's fine with me, whatever the consensus
Well, it's
of council
it's
is.
Exhibit A.
Yeah, it's very concise. There's no double negatives. I can read it if you want. It's,
Well, I didn't see it, so.
it's in the packet.
Your packet.
It's not in my packet.
I'll read it. It's to acquire railroad corridor property and construct capital improvements thereto for a recreational rail-to-trail project known as the Bonita Estero Rail Trail. Shall Bonita Springs issue general obligation bonds not exceeding, and then it has a dollar amount, which we'll put in 35 million, principal amount maturing within 30 years of issuance, with interest not to exceed the maximum legal rate and payable from ad valorem property taxes levied in amounts sufficient to pay debt services on such bonds. And then it says instruction to voters, yes for bonds, no against bonds.
So okay, so the last two sentences, I'm sure they legally are probably required, but those are the type of sentences that start making people trail off. I'm just saying that. I'm not saying that there's anything that can be done or not, but I'm just being honest with it. Those last two sentences are you're like, wait a minute, okay, I get it. Like if they would have stopped two sentences before the last two, that's about perfect.
Well, that's why we lead with the happy part, but those last two sentences, you know,
Are legally-
the dollar, so.
Right.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
They have to be in there.
Both Derek and our bond council have
Yeah, they have
agreed
to be
upon
in.
the lead, so we don't put ourselves forward for any kind of challenge.
But we're, again, we'll be working, if there are additional tweaks, you know, we'll bring those up before the next meeting.
Nigel, you had a comment?
Yeah, just a comment. We all went through the private meetings, and I appreciate the data that we received. Also, one of my big takeaways was a pleasant surprise. Our residents in the city of Bonita Springs apparently trust us. They trust the transparency of the city council. They trust our staff. And not that it was a staggering number, but it made me feel good about the job we're doing up here. So I think the residents are paying attention to this issue. And if we do this properly, which I know we're going to do, I think we get the support. But I don't think anybody in our city, for the most part, feels that we're hiding or doing something that is not in their best interest or going to cost them more than they know. So I feel really good about this.
All right, thank you. Any other discussion? All right, we've got a motion and a second for 35 million for 30 years. Roll call, please.
Okay. Councilmember Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Councilmember Bogas,
Aye.
Councilmember Corey,
Aye.
Councilmember Fullick,
Aye.
Councilmember Carr,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Purdon, Mayor Gibson.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you. Go get us a rail.
Or two.
We got the rail, we just gotta pay,
Oh, yeah.
we got, just go get us some money.
Find us funding. All right, moving on to city attorney items.
No items, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Derek. Appreciate that.
That was one of his best reports.
Great job, Derek. That's why we keep you around.
Short and sweet.
All right, city manager items.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. At this time, Dr. Margaret Banyan is going to come forward and give you a brief presentation on some options regarding transportation impact fees, and we'll be seeking some general direction from staff, to staff.
Good morning again.
Good morning again. So, as city manager Hunter said, the goal this morning is just to provide an overview of some different options with transportation fees. And so I have a general presentation here to just kind of cover some thinking and also to possibly get some direction from you about which way you would like us to proceed. So I hear there's a clicker, but I don't see one right now, so it's okay, I'm good. So there's kind of three types of fees that will fund transportation, and right now we're really talking about transportation fees, not park impact fees or any other type of fee. This is really a transportation fee approach. So I'll briefly go through the three types, and then I have some examples for you. So the first is probably what you're very familiar with, which is a road impact fee. And road impact fees cover the cost to construct off-site capital improvements to meet vehicle demands that may result from a project that's being built. The road impact fee is based on vehicle trips or vehicle trip lengths. And the basic question about road impact fees is really around new road or new vehicle capacity. So when thinking about that, if you're thinking about vehicle capacity, the city now allows these impact fees to be used on existing roads, new roads, sidewalks, and bicycle lanes if you're taking trips off of the road, or capacity improvements that take trips off the road. So again, it's very focused on vehicle trips and the roadways. There's another option that is kind of a hybrid. This is kind of a middle option some cities and counties are using, is the multimodal impact fee. Still an impact fee. And so this kind of fee, again, is the cost to construct off-site capital improvements to meet demands created by a project. And this approach is based on adding multimodal trips. So the basic question here for the multimodal impact fee is about adding new or increasing multimodal capacity. It's a little different because multimodal, again, is broader. So existing roads, new roads, sidewalks and bicycle lanes, additional capacity improvements around many different kinds of modes. It's somewhat flexible. The multimodal fee approach is somewhat flexible in terms of how the funds are spent. Because again, it's a broader definition of the focus, broader than road capacity. The most flexible is the mobility fee approach. And mobility fees start from a very different place. They start from what is your future mobility vision for the city? And that future mobility vision is based in a mobility plan. The cost then is calculated by assessing the proportionate impact of a project on your mobility plan. So currently the city is developing a mobility plan that's in process right now. And again, that's designed to be what's your future vision, depending on what planning horizon you select, what's the future land use, transportation, connection, what is that going to be like in 2045 or 2050. The basic question then is not about moving vehicles. The basic question is about moving people, which is a very different approach, because if you're thinking about moving people, you're thinking about all of the things and all of the ways that people move. So they may move by boat, they may move by bicycle, they may walk, they may move by transit. So the fee supports all of those different options to move people. You'll see my little symbols that blow that kind of indicate the increasing flexibility. The other unique thing about a mobility fee is it also supports technology improvements. So you think about the earlier discussion about cell towers. There are some buses now that have intelligent transportation systems that tell the user your bus or your ride is 2 stops away or it's 1 stop away. So those kinds of technology improvements are also supported by a mobility fee, depending all on how you construct your fee. And so mobility fees, there's a wide variety in how cities and counties are constructing the fee. And so you have a lot of flexibility as a city. This is just an overview chart about the differences. I'm not going to go into this chart other than to just say as you move from left to right, the options get more flexible in terms of how you assess the fee, where you assess the fee, and where you spend the fee. So I created a bit of a sample of areas that are using these types of fees. The mobility fee is much more extensive than the list here. And so City of Tampa, for example, we looked at in terms of the multimodal fee. And the mobility fee, City of Cape Coral, your neighbor up to the north, is in process of developing their fee. They have developed their plan. So you can see there's a number of cities that are moving towards this approach.
Jim, did you have a question for now or for later?
We can wait to general questions. Yes.
Okay. So
Could I develop? What's the difference between? Go back to the former slide, please. What's the difference? Oh no.
Sorry, this one.
That one.
Okay.
The previous one has the difference.
The fee. What's the difference between the fee?
So a multimodal fee is, you can think of it as a hybrid of an impact fee and a mobility fee. So a multimodal fee would say, here's our, I'm generalizing because everybody does it a little different. Here's our level of service for bicycles. Here's our level of service for pedestrian walkways. Here's the level of service we want for transit. And then it may base a fee on that level of service. A mobility fee, again, is very different because it doesn't have the level of service terminology. It doesn't base it on a level of service.
In terms of?
In terms of the fee. So it's, what's our vision?
In terms of what it's offering? So what's the difference in, so I get a bike path, a pedestrian path with a multimodal, but with just mobility, it would just be for
mobility is like
bikes?
everything.
Yes. So, and again, this is generalizing because every city does it a little different or county does it a little different. Generally, a multimodal impact fee supports cars.
Rails to trails. Okay.
Right.
Got it.
But a mobility fee adds in additional things like will support transit, intelligent transportation systems, the technology piece. Yeah. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay.
But the money would still be, expenditures would still be in the city of Bonita Springs.
Correct. And I will talk a little bit in the case studies about how that how that can work.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And
I guess to clarify, and I have general comments afterwards, but this is a discussion to evaluate whether we continue to assess a road impact fee or whether we replace that with one of the other options, if I understood yesterday's briefing meetings that we had.
So what we would be asking for your guidance today is, would you like us to look into the mobility fee or multimodal fee options? You don't have to decide now which direction, but we need a little direction in terms of if you're interested in pursuing a different alternate fee, then we would need to know that.
Thank you.
Now or later?
Not now. I mean, I would suggest that that you do look into it, because, I mean, okay, so we all understand impact
Does
fees
you want to
and what.
finish, or we're going to have just?
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I
No,
have
go ahead.
just a few
No, go ahead, go
case
ahead.
studies to just, and I'm not going to go over these case studies in detail because there's many more details than I've included here. Just to give you an idea about the different ways cities and counties are constructing these kinds of fees. So first, City of Tampa, again, they have the multimodal impact fee. What they do is they establish fee districts, and they have different districts based on, or different levels based on land use, the location in the city, as well as other city goals and policies. And they may assign, they have the discretion to assign lower fees for some affordable housing projects, for example. So the collection and expenditure, I think there was a question about that. So City of Tampa says that the fees can be expended in the district in which they're collected, but they can also be expended in districts that are in close proximity to where the assessment is. So they set up different districts, different zones. That's the assessment district, but they can spend a little bit outside of that parameter. There's a lot of other details about how and why. Cape Coral's mobility fee, again, so that's the mobility fee. That's the fee to fund mobility projects identified in their 2045 mobility plan. And they have 4 assessment districts. And so 4 different districts with different levels of fee assessment. And then they have 2 benefit districts, meaning so they're going to assess in 4 different levels, 4 different categories or tiers, if you can think of them as tiers of a district. And then they can spend those in 2 broader areas. They can also spend those beyond the city limits to expand the street network as long as it benefits the city. So they've built in some flexibility about where their funds are spent. Just a couple other examples. So North Miami and Altamont Springs. North Miami is very small. North Miami has set up 1 assessment district and pretty much 1 benefit district. So assess in 1 district and can spend in that district. But they have added areas adjacent to the city to provide for more connectivity. So they're recognizing that the transportation, land use is integrated and it doesn't stop at the city boundary. So they're trying to improve connectivity throughout. City of Altamont Springs, what's kind of different and interesting about what they're doing is they're carving out lower rates for new development based on job creation. So their job creation is around activity center, that's what that means, or transit-oriented areas. So the purpose of these case studies is just to show you a little bit about how flexible the fee is in terms of how you can construct that fee. So whatever the priorities of the city are, you can use the fee to meet some other priorities. One thing I will mention before we close and open it up to additional questions is that currently all of these fees are impact fees. So if you think about this is a big bucket, they're all considered impact fees. And the state has some constraints around impact fees. So the first is that your impact fee, once you do a study, can't be increased more than 50% of your existing fee. Additional increases can only occur every 5 years. And you have to phase in the fee. So your fee increase, no more than 50%, has to be implemented in at least 2 years, but not more than 4. And that has to begin on the date which the impact fee increase ordinance is adopted. And then the final thing, just kind of as a note, that the state's requiring, there's several other requirements, of course, but I'm not going to go into that detail right now, but the new study has to be adopted by the local government within 12 months, or the new fee has to be adopted within 12 months of the study. State's looking for current information that goes into that fee estimate, and that's that purpose of that 12 months. So again, what we're looking for is some direction. If council would like us to do a little more digging into the mobility fee, multimodal impact fee, or if you're comfortable sticking with just a strict impact fee, then that's kind of where we're seeking some
Just as a
direction.
reminder, if we've previously advised council, we are required to do the study. There has to be a rational nexus between the fees we're charging and collection. So we are required to do a study, whether you'd like us to begin to explore additional avenues, which could be the multimodal mobility fee, or just go straight with the impact fees. We can bring that information back, but we are required to do a study. You are not required to increase those fees. That is the decision of council on a policy and incentives and programs, but you are required to conduct a study so we can determine that there aren't any fees that we are overcharging for, and we would recommend immediately to decrease those if there was such a case.
Jim, you had a question?
Yes, I want to thank the presentation yesterday we had on each of these. I think that our real issue in this city, at least from my perspective, is congestion on our roads. And the direct benefit that we can use the road impact fee for is fairly ties our hands for moving people within the community. And this discussion or availability of a mobility fee option is something that, from my end, it provides us as council to provide the flexibility to provide improved pedestrian and biker safety. It allows us to look at incremental capital purchases and joint funding with the county and so forth. We're expanding our microbus program to get multiple people off the road. And there's a variety of uses that I just think that our road impact fee is great, but the bulk of our roads are controlled by the county and the state, and our hands are tied as to what we can do with that. So I'd like us to consider evaluating the mobility fee.
Thanks, Jim. Jesse?
Yeah, I think, well, I don't think this is maybe the necessary time that we need to do it, but I think assessment districts is something we should consider looking at some point within the city. I think we're big enough that that's something we could consider at some point. So when I say that, like, as I learned in our meeting, cities like Miami, for example, depending on, Miami's very different from us, but for example, they have wealth stacked on top of poverty over there. Very much, you're in one block and you don't want to get out of the car, then you're in the next block and you're in McMansions. So, I mean, it's kind of spread out so that depending on where you're at, they can incentivize where they want growth and things like that, and that the prices are commensurate with what would be appropriate to the city's portion of that. That said, that's a later thing, but I think it's something worth noting, and I think this is the first time it's actually come up, so I kind of just something to think about for the future. As far as the mobility fees model, I think it gives us as planners a more holistic view of everything that's going on, and it does it in a way that is better than traditional impact fees. Instead of it being everything being done in a vacuum in and of itself, everything is kind of looked at differently in this model. It gives incentives in the areas where we're trying to grow, and the way it looks at transportation is, again, it's just more accurate and holistic view of the actual transportation patterns that are actually occurring in the city, in my view. And it allows, most importantly, it allows us more latitude on what we're allowed to spend the dollars on. That, to me, is the biggest piece. So I think looking at this is a win-win, but at the end of the day, we need to be looking at every assessment and every fee that we possibly can because ad valorem is likely going away. When it does, we have to have other pieces that are going to come and backfill. So there's zero net loss to looking at this, and we potentially have a lot to gain because it actually could wash where we actually make, as a city are generating more this way based on based on where they do it, the amount is going to be more, and the areas that we're trying to actually get investment and buy-in, we're going to be able to get it better because the numbers are going to be better in those areas. So all around, I think that looking at this is a win-win, and it may actually be something that we want to adopt long-term.
Thank you. Nigel?
Yeah, I'm not going to repeat what Jesse and Jim said, but in total agreement. And it just, Dr. Banyan, thank you for your patience yesterday. I know you have to do it 7 times, but it's really enlightening in looking at this, where we are as a city and where we're not going to be by 2040, which was, a surprise to me that we're not looking at the kind of growth. The mobility fee study seems to be in our best interests.
Laura?
Concur. I actually agree with Jesse said that the change doesn't occur within a vacuum. And I like that we'll have different districts and tiers that apply appropriately to where we need, and that there's more flexibility with mobility than with impact fees. So I'd be more in favor of that. And Arlene, you said that we have to do the study, but we're not required to raise fees. And I'm not saying let's raise fees. But what if the study results in fees need to be raised?
That would be the decision of council. There's many options and ways you could do that. There's step programs you could do percentage-wise. There actually is prescribed percentages of how quickly you can increase them. But also certain uses you may want to incentivize. In the past, you did charge lower fees for certain uses that you wanted to incentivize for a program or in areas.
And we have that flexibility with mobility.
And likewise, in the past, you had 2 uses that we had determined after the fees were reviewed that there was, because of the technology changes in those uses and the way that business adapted differently, it was a lower fee. So
Great.
that's
Okay, thank you.
Jamie?
And I too agree with what everyone here has said today, so don't need to repeat everything also, but I definitely think there's just seems to be a lot more flexibility with the mobility plan and to see and explore that option. And thank you so much for all your information also in our one-on-ones.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement. We get the most flexibility out of the mobility fee and prepares us for the future, so. Is that good enough direction for staff, or we need a voter?
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
And again, Dr. Banyan, thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Wonderful meeting yesterday.
Thank you. All right.
That concludes my report. Thank you.
You had the opportunity zone?
Oh, sorry. Just a quick update. We did receive John Talmadge with the Economic Development Division of Lee County reached out, as well as Lee County administrative staff, to let us know that there's an opportunity for us to participate in the Lee County Opportunity Zone. It is specifically based on census tract information. That's how you begin to qualify. In the packet, we included the actual census tract. It is that additional data comes that may expand or contract slightly. And community development staff then overlaid, just for your reference, the form-based code. There's a small portion within the opportunity zone that is in the overlay of the form-based code. In order to continue our the recommendation to include this census tract, the economic development staff asked if we could have a letter of support from the city council so they could include that in their final applications, and that would be signed by the mayor. And I would need a motion to that to say that we'd like to participate.
Second.
Any discussion? Right, motion and a second. Roll call.
Mayor Gibson,
Aye.
Councilmember Corey,
Aye.
Councilmember Fullick,
Aye.
Councilmember Carr,
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Purdon, Councilmember Bogas.
Aye.
And I would like to share that it was Lee County Commissioner Mullica who actually recommended during their meeting to include the city of Bonita, and that was confirmed by their administrative staff, Assistant County Manager Mark Moore. So we appreciate their assistance.
Thank you. All right, moving on to mayor and council member reports. Jamie, you want to go first?
Sure. Saturday night, I attended the Ritz-Carlton had their residence grand opening, which was called Debay by the Blue. And it was incredible. The lobby, you walk in, I mean, what they've done, it's just amazing. The outside areas, the pool areas, it was beautiful. They had everything done. Unfortunately, they had some rain that changed a few things up for them, but it was a really beautiful evening. Mark Wilson, the CEO, spoke and complimented the city and community development and working so well with us and having a partnership. So they thanked us for that, along with he really had a lot of heartfelt words for many people that have worked on the project, and it's just really beautiful. They did have an amazing drone show at the end that I unfortunately did not see, saw some pictures of, but it was a beautiful evening for a lot of people. I don't know if I'll be able to see it again unless I win the lottery somehow, but when I got to see it, it was pretty. Greg DeWitt let me know that the fire department has hired 11 new firefighters that are going to be starting on the 27th of April. And they are going to be in a 6-week orientation. And they have purchased a new truck for Station 7, which is there on the beach, and that's going to be in service, he's hoping, by May or June. And Celebrate Bonita, thank you to all that helped put that together. I know I went on Wednesday evening with family that was in town, and they thought it was incredible. It was a great evening. And unfortunately, I think the rain got the best of that Saturday night, which was unfortunate, but it was still a great event. And thoughts and prayers to Mike and his family. It's, our hearts really go out to him. And there really are no words for the loss. And I just, I know that the love and support that I received from the family here at the city meant the world to me, and I know that we will be there for him. And so just, everyone keep him in his thoughts, in your thoughts and prayers. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Jamie. Jesse?
Yeah, Celebrate Bonita. Great job by staff. Great event. You can plan a pretty picnic, but you can't predict the weather, I think is what they say. So, we did a great job for the hand we were dealt, I think. And seeing the pre-work that goes into it with staff, or with the Lee County Sheriff's Office, we all went to a pre-briefing security, and just kind of seeing all of the work that goes in by these folks to keep us safe during these events. It's absolutely amazing. There's a ton of work that goes into it, but just seeing it firsthand really makes you appreciate what they are doing for us on a regular basis, but especially during those times. Number two, I referenced briefly ways that we could potentially be coming up with money and additional revenue streams. I had referenced Derek looking into potentially what options were in regards to a sin tax type deal with Collier County for coming up to the medicinal marijuana dispensaries, and seeing if there's a way that we can cut a deal, with the county. So just throwing out rough numbers, and these are pulled out of the sky, so this isn't based on anything, but say, you're getting 10,000 people a week from Collier County. They get $1.50 charge or whatever on every time that they come up. That money then goes to the county. We then split the money with the county. They get half, we get half. It would have to be a deal similar to that. Because my understanding is we as a city can't do it. Now, as a county, we could. But if we give the idea to the county and then we say splitsies, that means Fort Myers would get revenue that they didn't have, Cape Coral will get revenue they didn't have. I don't know if Fort Morris Beach has them, but bottom line, all the cities would then be, kind of go along with it, but then they're getting an additional percentage that they didn't see coming, and the county's getting it as well. We'd have to give a piece to them because they're the entity that could do it, but it's within our geographic boundaries. So maybe a little buffer piece there. So I don't know where that was left off, Derek. I don't know if you have any thoughts or if it's still something you're looking at.
As we discussed, it's really going to be a legislative issue because even the county couldn't do it. It's a tax. Any tax has to come from the state. We don't have any taxing authority. So everything we treat as taxes, like our ad valorem or business tax receipt, those are all state authorized. So unless there was a way to tie it to real property, which unfortunately, you could tie it to real property in the city, you can't tie it to the customers that are coming over from Collier County. So that's really the issue. So the business tax receipt process has been whittled down. I actually believe Representative Botana may have been one who proposed a bill whittling it down further. So it's going to have to be a legislative.
It can't be a fee?
We don't have a mechanism for charging the fee. It's the how do we get involved in that process? We can't get involved in business fees.
So as far as if there is, any potential move forward there, it wouldn't be through the county. It would actually be a piece of legislation to the state legislature, is what you're
To authorize a city to do something like that. Yes.
saying. Okay, so maybe when we talk to the League of Cities people about the other piece that we were going to talk about, maybe we just kind of include that in that discussion.
Because the actual fee in this case would essentially be an excise tax, and there are excise taxes in Florida, but they're all specifically to the state. The state has that authority. So anything of a sin tax is the same. It's the same issue. You're taxing a product, and that's where we have the problem.
Okay, and then also renewing the flagpole suggestion of 176.6 feet. That way, when it's 255 years old or 260 years old, it will still make sense. It will be less money. It is a creative, and now we're not doing the same thing as CAPE, because if you didn't hear, things changed in our meeting, and CAPE actually did approve it. So now maybe it makes sense we don't do what CAPE did, but we do something that would be unique and stand the test of time, as far as 1776 isn't going to change, right? So I'd like to, if there is an appetite from council, to renew the discussion at 176.6.
77.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, 177.6 feet. I'd like to reopen that discussion if there's an appetite for that on council. So I don't know if I have to, if me saying that is enough.
I would support reopening the discussion if council's.
So, logistically, Matt, I know this was kind of something you were working on. Logistically, is there something you would need from us?
I don't think that the 30-foot difference, foundationally speaking, is going to move the engineering fees that you already authorized.
Okay.
So I don't know that there's any need to reopen.
Okay.
I was pretty clear that you're not going to meet the 4th of July deadline at this point. So we can proceed with the engineering as you directed, and I don't think that change really matters. Certainly something to discuss in the future.
And then we could incentivize.
We're looking.
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Oh, what if we got sponsors involved to incentivize someone to start the project and get it done?
That we'll work with staff, we'll create some sort of sponsorship package, and we can create something we can bring forward. The most important thing is we'd have to bring a resolution creating a fund so where you could accept donations. But I think, Matt I think we can work with Wright Construction on 177.6, but that wouldn't probably affect the engineering cost. It still is, again, we would not have it available for July 4th, but we can create we can work with council, we can create around a holiday, a Memorial Day, Veterans Day.
We can do it 4th of July.
The following year, yeah.
Can we clarify, does the engineering scope include the issues brought up in terms of power and lighting, in terms of that, right?
Yeah, it addresses the site improvements. I don't
No, it's
think
fine.
that type of change is really gonna drive the
that's
needle.
fine.
It will drive the needle on the steel or not steel, the aluminum
Right.
piece, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and that's all. And I also, wanted to repeat my sentiment towards Mike and his family and us all, being there for him, praying for him and his family during this difficult time. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Jesse. Laura?
I also want to mention the stroll. That was really phenomenal. Thank you, community, for Laura Taylor and her team. And on last Friday, I did a presentation at Horizon, and the Wonder Gardens did the nonprofit, and our mayor was gracious enough to attend, and I appreciate that, as was David McCulloch. The presentation was basically the Ritz-Carlton Residence on Estero Bay by London Bay, and then our own Kyle Moran did the showstopper of downtown Bonita and other projects around. He kind of covered everything, which stole my thunder, but that's okay. It's all listed online, and it was really, thank you. I appreciate everyone who showed up, and I especially thank Antonio and Alex who helped put the presentation together. And yeah, the North Tower of Ritz-Carlton Residence on Estero Bay is officially open, already 1/3 sold out. So we can dream, and then we can say, oh, we wanted to buy, but it was already sold out. And condolences and sympathy and prayers to Mike and his family.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I do want to say Laura did a great job at the Horizon Council last week. She put together a fabulous team, and I think everybody in the room was jealous of Bonita Springs' future and what's going on right now here. Celebrate Bonita was great, minus the rain. I think it would have been a totally different story had everybody not ran away at the beginning of it because the storm came through. But the stroll leading up to it, I mean, every night there was just a ton of people down there, and all the downtown businesses greatly appreciate something bringing people down every night like that. So I think the stroll is probably the most beneficial part of the thing because it spreads it out, especially when we have a situation with rain where it kind of disrupts the Saturday event. Same thoughts and prayers with Mike and his family, and I know we have a great family support team here at the city, and I know we'll all be there for him. So, thank you, Chris.
I'm good.
Nigel.
Some good news items. So I've been not stalking the elementary school construction, but kind of stalking the elementary school's construction. And went over to the site, and it was concerning me because I didn't see anything on the initial facade. So I met with the superintendent on the site. He pointed out they've put more brick on the building than they initially showed us. So when you look at the building now, you can see a lot more brick facade, the entire building, which is great. But our facade that we agreed to, the gentleman's or gentleperson's agreement that we had, he told me it was a banner. Then he said, oh, no, not a banner. It's one of those permanent things. So they actually have it. It's exactly what we talked about. It's 17 feet 4 inches. So it seems like everything is going forward the way that we wanted to, and it looks good. So just to let you know that they seem like they're keeping their word. I met with, or had a conversation with Colonel Lewis, the ROTC commander out at the high school. This is one of those things about our area. We have less than 1 million people in Lee County, Florida. Top 10 ROTC programs for high schools in the entire country. We're in the top 10. But more importantly, this is amazing. We're the #1 ROTC program in America. We have more high school students in Lee County that are involved in ROTC than the entire country. So that's impressive, and they're doing a great job. We've got Memorial Day coming up on the 25th, so I'd remind everybody, 9 a.m. It's going to be a wonderful ceremony. It is being moved from Riverside Park, obviously, to the Lyles Hotel, so if you can get that word out there, We'll still have all the same things, just it's going to be at the Lyles. I know Nicole and Laura and staff are going to do a great job. We found out we have flagpoles and flags, so it'll be just as patriotic as it's always been. And this is an update, but I just like board's approval or direction.
That's May 25th, not.
What did I say?
You just said on the 25th, but.
Oh, I'm sorry, thanks.
May,
Thanks,
not
but yeah, May, yeah. It's still in May, it's still, yeah. Good point. Got a telephone call from the TDC, and you remember the mural that we weren't going to get because we didn't have a building. The old Board of Realtors building, which is where Chartreuse is now, that one story, as you all know, there's a mural there that it's not up to our standards. Nothing against the mural artist. It was her first mural. We had very limited funds, but it's been there a long time. They've agreed that they think that would be a good location for them to do a mural, so that would be at the county's expense. There's no money out of our pocket. How would council feel if we gave them to go ahead to pursue that?
Yes, if there's, hey,
I'm sorry?
ROTC letter.
Yeah, that's, oh, I'm sorry, but it's on my little list here, but thank you.
I would say I would be in favor, but the one caveat to that is I do remember when that went up, there was like an article about it, and there was some significance to the lady or something like that. I don't remember. Does anyone else remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I'm not sure what you're.
Well, no, I'm just saying we should prep. I don't know if we.
The artist was a local young lady that had never done an outdoor mural before.
Okay.
So that was the only. There's no significance.
Okay.
The 5-year term is long past.
Okay, I wasn't sure. That was the thing. I remember it was a big deal. I remember there was an article about it. I remember
It's over
there was
10 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. But the quality will be very similar to. I do want to give a shout out to Danielle and Steve Dyer, because just like when we did the building just south, right at home, they're so excited. They said, whatever you need to do, we'd love to be part of that. So they continue to be great citizens. So everybody's happy as we tell them that we'd like to do that. Great, thank you. And the last thing is, I brought up the ROTC program, but we would like to belatedly thank the ROTC for allowing Mike 1 extra hour of sleep and not writing another 1,000 cards. But they have been such a great participant over the last couple of years. But if you remember when we did the card program, they helped bring us over the top by the kids going back out again and doing so. Just want to send a thank you letter on behalf of the mayor and council to ROTC for that and what they've done over the last couple of years. So we could.
We can check. I know there was several letters of thank you letters we sent out. Actually, there was a letter of recommendation that was asked for from someone from the ROTC for an appointment. That's what I was.
Well,
separate from that.
He doesn't think he needs it, so I could follow up. Yeah, it's the commander. So Colonel Lewis has put his name in the hat for the head of the ROTC program. The current ROTC head for Lee County is retiring, and he's put his hat in the ring. I don't believe anybody else has, but maybe a letter just to the Lee County School Board validating his service to the city and what he's done would be appropriate.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
And we'll check. There was several letters that the mayor wrote right afterwards, so thank you letters. We'll make sure that one went to the ROTC.
They didn't even know that the city won that contest until last week, so but they were delighted.
Additionally, I think it was a letter from mayor and council. I don't think we need a motion on that, but general direction that the letter would be signed by the mayor.
Yes.
To support the potential appointment.
Thank you.
Jim?
Celebrate Bonita, ditto. The immersive experience during the week was just something special, very magical. The number of people it brought downtown, the families, adults and so forth, was wonderful. Both the mayor and I had the opportunity to attend Arts Bonita's Off the Wall. Yes, they raised a lot of money, but I think the key messages that those attending the event was the positive impact that organization has brought in the education, whether it be theater, whether it be art and all that other type stuff, to our younger folks in this city and the benefits of that whole thing. And I must credit the Arts Bonita organization. Great job. I wish all of our residents a blessed Passover and Easter as we come celebration time. But I also turn to the situation of our city clerk. This was very hard, but our thoughts and prayers are with you.
Thank you, Jim. All right, public comment on any item. Did we have any registered?
No.
Okay, okay. You're good.
Yeah, no, Jay. Oh.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor and City Council, my name is Dave J. I'm in Macomb County. I'm a Bonita Springs resident, and I'm also chair of the Lee County Taxpayers Association. And it was very disappointing to hear how much time was spent about increasing taxes today, as opposed to looking ways to save the taxpayers' money. The Lee County Taxpayers Association is opposed to tax increases and fee increases, and including this $35 million tax increase. You call it a bond, it's a tax increase, for several reasons. Number one, the hidden cost of the trail. The $35 million only covers the acquisition. It does not include the massive unquoted costs of ripping out the existing rail system and constructing a bike path. Furthermore, this rail corridor is a vital regional asset that should be preserved for passenger and car travel to solve our traffic crisis, not to dismantle for recreation. The Lee County Board of Commissioners has voted to double the size of RSW without increasing any money for the roads. The other opportunity that we have is the 25-year library tax ripoff. While you ask taxpayers to pay for a new recreation bond, the Lee County government continues to take $7.3 million annually in library taxes from Bonita residents, but they only spend $1.85 million to run our local branch. That means 75%, or $5.46 million, is spent outside our city every single year. For years, the library staff has refused to extend hours during the busy tourist season, despite our massive overpayment. So please consider a win versus a permanent burden of this tax increase. We should issue a bond for 3 years to buy our library back from the county. By forming an independent library district like the city of Fort Myers Beach, like the city of Sanibel, we retain our full tax revenue. Instead of a 30-year proposition, as you're considering, in less than 5 years, we will be able to buy the library back from the county and have a $1.53 million annual surplus that would allow us to increase library hours and cut taxes. So in conclusion, every day that you delay reclaiming our library funds costs Bonita residents $15,000. Stop subsidizing other communities, and instead of working to increase taxes, the Bonita City Council should be working to lower taxes, find more efficiencies, and improve the quality of services, including with the library. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Dave. Any other public comment?
Hello, Kyle Moran again, Phelps Avenue. I just, in reflection on your discussion and your wonderful decision today, I just wanted to thank you for making a great decision with regard to that rail corridor. I consider myself, like a lot of us in our community, a real conservative. And conservatives often say they're against taxes, but they're always for a great deal. And this is a great deal for our community. All you have to do is look at the very low price per acre this community is buying for that corridor and compare that to transactions nearby. It's a small percentage, a fifth, a sixth, a seventh, a tenth. It's a great deal for our community. But the real benefits are not in the mark to market of that very good trade. That real benefits, as Councilman Fullick said, are the safety when we transport school children on those trails. As Councilman Fitzpatrick said, It's putting those walkers and bikers out of harm's way, putting them on those trails. As a number of you commented, it is to the benefit of the businesses in that area. If you drive up and down a lot of the roads in this area, you'll see a lot of businesses under pressure. Strip malls all are decorated the same way today with for lease signs. But great downtowns have businesses that last, and that's what we're building. They employ lots of people with great jobs, and that trail helps improve our downtown in a very powerful way. So thank you for making great decisions, great conservative decisions that bring great value to our taxpayers and to our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Any other public comment today? All right, seeing none, motion to adjourn?
Yes.